So at the time in the Civil War, Charleston was the harbor and the port, and it was becoming completely strangled by the Union ships. And they were blockading, so our ships could not go out. They were very desperate at that time, and the Hunley becomes really that invention of, ingenuity and desperation. There was no submarine back there. There was no, prototype necessarily. So they came up with this. It was built in Alabama and brought here in Charleston in 1864. There were two other crews of the Hunley that sank in August and October, right before the final sinking of the Hunley. And it killed more men than anything. So it killed 5 the first time, and it killed all 8 the second time. So it had a horrible reputation. So if you're going with that, and nobody really knows what there's no naval school for how to work a submarine, it shows you the courage and the desperation that they were feeling at that time. So on that historic mission, General Beauregard at the time ordered them to attack actually on the surface. So their mission was to sink the USS Housatonic, which it had a wooden hull, and it was chosen for that reason and also its location. We know it had accomplished its mission. It was going to come back, and that's the last time anybody ever heard from her. So it was discovered in 1995 off the coast of Sullivan's Island. Clive Cussler and his dive team have been given the credit for finding that. So on May 3rd, 1995, the dive crew went down and they officially found the Hunley and kept it quiet for a little bit and wanted to make sure it was going to be done right and taken care of properly. It took about 5 years for them to come up with how to raise a Civil War submarine from the bottom of the ocean floor. So on August 8th of 2000, it was a historical day in Charleston. It's one of those, everybody knows where they were that day the Hunley was raised. It's been here since it was raised, and it'll stay here until we go into our final museum. And currently what they're doing is they're deconcreting the interior of the submarine. That's probably one of the last steps that needs to be done for final conservation. When they first started excavating it in early 2001, it was filled up to the very top with sand and silt. We assumed there were 8 bodies in there, and that's exactly what we found. So we had a crew of 8 men. And honestly, the first really focus for the project was to handle the remains as properly as possible and also give them a burial that was needed, and that was done in April of 2004. So that was kind of the big focus to that point. Then it was the artifact. We have Dixon's jewelry and his gold coin, which is shiny and it's pretty, and the legend is true, but that's easy to conserve. They like the hard things. Like we found literally a sewing needle, so like a needle in the haystack in the middle of the ocean. They were able to find that. They found a candle. They found the match that lit the candle, which is amazing. They were able to conserve a single wooden match that still had that burnt end on it, like it was just done yesterday. An oil can that still had oil in it. It's things like that it's just daily routine things that you would put in there, but 140 years later, which is a lot more cool than it is then. Nobody knew early on. There's no manifest of who's even on board. So what happens a lot is you start to knock out theories by what you don't find on the submarine. I don't know that we'll ever actually be able to say with 100% that this is what sunk the Hunley. It might be more of a combination of theories. Unfortunately, with the crew, we don't know a lot about a lot of them. We do know a little bit more about Lieutenant Dixon because of where he sat. We know that's where his position would have been. And there was this legend that we always heard that he carried a coin in his left trouser pocket because it was his good luck charm. It became a good luck charm because he was shot in the Battle of Shiloh, and that coin allegedly ricocheted the mini ball that struck him. So it saved his leg and honestly would have saved his life. So it became the lucky gold coin. It was given to him, the legend goes, by his sweetheart named Queenie Bennett. So after the battle, he comes out of it okay. We've heard the coin was bent. He kept it in his pocket. He would rub it, just self-consciously. And, that was the only story we heard. There's nothing to back up that this actually happened. So when our archaeologist is working on the section of remains where, if it's going to be here, this is where it's going to be. Our scientists are very analytical, like most scientists, so I don't know that anybody thought this was really going to be in here. But as she was removing the coin, or the block lift that had Dixon's torso, the bridge of the gold coin, she felt it immediately and knew exactly what it was. And in her hand was shaking, and there was the gold coin. What was surprising is that he had it engraved on the back, and that was never passed down at all. So that was a surprise. But it is bent like you would think it would be. We found evidence on his femur where he was struck, and there was traces of the lead mini ball on the coin. The Hunley means different things to different people. You can see you've got the history buffs who just love history, anything. You've got the science geeks who, the Hunley was a science revelation and innovative back in 1862 when it was built. What we're doing, in the 90s and the 2000s, like what we're able to do with it is also innovative. So you have that aspect of it. And then there's the overall human story. You have these 8 individuals who volunteered pretty much, also were selected to go inside and risk their life. You could tell they were desperate and they were courageous at the same time to actually get into here. So you have that human aspect and that human element into it as well.